where you can do all those things and so much more. Just grab a seat in the chair or the floor. Sit back, relax, recline, while she drops another casual line. You're tuned into Casually Molly with Molly and Bergie.
Welcome back to the Casually Molly podcast. Again, I am your host, Molly Ambergy. For new listeners, thank you so much for tuning in. And for just our loyal casual listeners, welcome back. Thank you for tuning in again. I am so excited. I know normally we interview artists, entertainers, comedians, me having a theater and comedic background here. But I also really love to highlight women doing amazing and great things. And so speaking of amazing and great, let's give it up. Everybody listening in your car, your home office, give it up for Shanae Chapman. Hello.
Oh my God, I love that intro. Thank you. I'm very happy to be here, and I definitely want to share more about what I'm up to and answer any questions that you have about design and technology and things that women who are interested in this path definitely should know and can look forward to.
Yes. Well, so how we know each other, I actually am friends with your boyfriend, Dan. So very excited. And I don't know if he told you this, but a while back when you guys first started dating, like obviously in love with you, amazing. But he was like, you should have Shanae on your podcast. And I was like, I got to meet her then. I got to get to know her. And then at Dan's housewarming party, I met you. You were lovely, very amazing, like host, by the way. And I was so excited for you to co-host and get to know you a little bit better. And you started talking about your field, and I loved seeing a woman in your industry. Why don't you talk a little bit about your title and why you chose that career path?
Yeah, so my trade is user experience. So I've been a senior UX designer. I've also been a team lead. I have worked at big companies like IBM, Boeing, MATLAB, so very like technology-driven companies, helping make software easier to use and understood, and helping people get things done across the world. Worked on teams that are designing and developing and making business apps that people use all across the world, millions of people. So it's quite exciting, but it's also quite stressful at times as well. So having some good mental health care practices is very important as well.
Oh, I love that. Well, see, that's really great that you brought that up. You're talking about making business apps. When you're saying that, what kind of business apps are you talking about?
So it varies. A lot of times I will work on developer tools. So tools for people who are coding new systems and need to have information about how to integrate those systems for their business customers. So for example, if you are signing up to apply for a job and you're using a system like a Workday system, how do you integrate that into systems that already exist at your company? How do you protect that data? How do you make it easy for people to manage data, change data, delete it, and have information readily available to make good decisions?
Oh, wow. See, now I need you to make a business app just for me. I feel like I need I need some life management and some better decisions in my life. So I really appreciate that. I do find it interesting. Like, when did you decide you were like, yes, technology is going to be the field for me, and this is what I want to do?
Yeah, it really for me was following the things that I'm passionate about, that I think about when I have free time, and just devouring books and listening to podcasts, and going to conferences, and now listening in to conferences and learning from people who have interesting paths. And for me, I'm always have been a creative. So I came into technology via design. So being someone who likes to write and likes to speak and share knowledge, and I just sketch all the time. I'm always doodling, and when I am bored, when I am thinking seriously, when I am happy, I am sketching. So I'm always sketching, always creating visuals And for me, it was very natural transition to take sketching and to take creativity and apply it to design software. So I learned about design software when I was a student at St. Louis University. I took graphic design classes.
I was a Billiken too. Yeah, girl. Yeah.
Definitely go Billikens.
Yes.
Yes. And yeah, when I took graphic design classes, and I had adjunct professors who taught classes, but also worked in their businesses and did design for other businesses, I knew that that's what I wanted to do with my life. I knew that design was a way to communicate and to share messages and to also listen to other people and get their feedback and understand their perspective and use that as a way to build better design. So for me, it brings together a lot of creativity, understanding people, understanding the complexity and the challenges of technology, and making something that people enjoy using and helps them save time and energy so they can get back to the things that they love to do and to hanging out with the people that they love.
Oh, I love that was first of all beautifully phrased. I say that a lot on this podcast, but sometimes when I have guests on, I'm like, I would have never thought of it that way, but you make it sound so easy, which is obviously your job. But I love that you were able to mold the creative and the tech side and bring that together. So I think that's a beautiful thing to see, because I feel like sometimes you see such a negative view of technology. People are like, oh, it's overtaking everything and it's, taking over my life. But what I love about what you're doing is you're trying to say, listen, this is a really great tool that we have. Let's use it for the benefit of the good that we can bring to the table. So I really appreciate that. What I didn't think of, you were saying here that you had adjunct professors that made an impact in your life, and now you're an adjunct professor, or you've been one. Is that correct?
That is correct. Yeah. So here in the St. Louis area, I've taught at Maryville University. I've taught storyboarding application courses for the computer science department, where students learn how to think from a user experience mindset. So understanding their users, understanding their pains and frustrations, really tapping into emotions. And I think a lot of people don't have that perspective that designers are really tapped into what is the emotional state of the people using the software, and how do we take away a lot of that pain and frustration. How do we have a application that helps people get things done and they feel satisfied and accomplished after using the app? So I am always using apps and evaluating apps. And a lot of us, we do that as well. We have these tiny computers around us all the time, these smartphones.
Yes.
And essentially, we are using apps and evaluating apps constantly, daily. And you know what it feels like to use an app that is hard to use, that is really hard to find what you need, and that stops and it works unexpectedly. So you know what frustrating experiences feel like, but you also know what having an app that works as expected, is fun to use, and connects you with people, what that feels like as well. So the idea is really being able to take that good experience and help quantify and qualify, like, how do you create that experience? How do you replicate that for other people, and teaching students how to do that themselves? Yeah.
Oh my God. See, and that's what I love is that you were talking about the connection of it. And so you're connecting with students, obviously the same way that, you connected with your teachers. How does it kind of feel? I know you were kind of touching on that there, but how does it feel in a sense now, like you're kind of in that teaching position, giving your knowledge to other students?
Yeah, it's definitely an experience that I'm thankful for. And, I know that it definitely matters for representation as well, being a Black woman in design and technology, normalizing that Black women and women in general deserve to be in this space and have something to offer and bring value to the table. So my students are white male, white female, Indian, Asian, other, Black
Right.
students all over the world. They are in across the US, they are in Europe, they are all over. And, we get to connect together. Also, one of the positives of the technology, we get to connect, we work asynchronously, we have office hours, we get to have dialogue. And, there's a lot of growing and exchanging that is happening. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah. So leadership, having professors, having experts in this field who are women, who are Black is acceptable. And it's something that they get to see and they get to know as well. And so, just taking it one generation at a time and, making progress in each step. And that's something that's also very, one of my passions is increasing diversity and inclusion in design and technology. So it means a lot to me. It's very rewarding, and yeah, happy to do it.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I keep saying I love it, but I really do. Like, this is so inspirational. I feel like I'm going to walk out of here. I'm like, man, if Shanae can do it, I can do it too. Like, I can definitely. Yeah, I'm always like, so. I love it. Thank you so much for the encouragement. That was beautiful. Loved it. Speaking of, taking it one generation at a time, starting out things new, you have something that you're starting up called Nerdy Diva. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that, the background of it, and what we should know?
Yeah, so I started freelancing while I was a student at St. Louis University. I started taking those graphic design classes, learning from my professors, and I thought, this is amazing. I want to create designs for real people, for real businesses. I work on campus. I was a work study student in the Entrepreneurship Center. I worked with some of the businesses there. I worked with some of the restaurants near campus, doing design work, creating business cards, creating websites,
wow.
creating flyers. So, really my career started out as a freelancer, someone who went out and found a need with businesses, small businesses that needed design help, and pitching to them and winning their business and designing. And it was bad. I was really bad in the beginning. But that's how you grow. That's how you learn. And I think that's another thing about being a creative is that you have to keep doing it in order to get better. You have to keep practicing. You have to keep studying. And I tell all my students, anyone who wants to get into a design and technology career, you have to always be learning. You have to always stay curious because the field changes so often. Like every year there's something new to learn. Right now I'm into learning more about like conversational experiences. So when you call, different hotlines and you have the automation, like how do they speak to you? How do you understand what to do on those phone calls and things like that? So sidebar, but the thing of staying in this frame of mind of learning, always learning and being open to that. So that really was something that I took with me in my career. And I knew that I wanted to create a business and be able to increase access and opportunities and create jobs for other people. So I incorporated Nerdy Diva here in St. Louis in 2018, which is very special for me because I had lived in Boston for almost 8 years and came back to St. Louis in 2018. And it was very important for me to start the business here, someone who grew up here in North St. Louis and wanted to grow the business here, grow opportunities here, and also across the country. So I'm very excited. We are 3 years old in November and continue to grow the team. So we've hired some contractors and we've had some designers come in and help with various projects. We had a project for Missouri Environmental Education Association, and being able to bring people in and give them more exposure to working with other businesses and organizations has always been a dream of mine. And just another part of that mentorship and sharing that knowledge and sharing that information, and also saying, yeah, you as a woman, you as a Black woman, you as a person of color or LGBT, you belong in this community. You are welcome, and we want to hear about your talents, your ideas, your dreams, and bring it on.
Oh my, first of all, that's gonna be I mean, it should be my motto anyway, but bring it on. I'm definitely using it. I love that mentality. That was, I see, and I've seen, first of all, did you design the logo for Nerdy Diva too? Was that your design as well?
Yeah, so it was definitely a collaborative effort. So I sketched out what that logo would look like, and I hired a contractor on my team who worked with some of the graphic software. So we worked hand in hand on building out the look and feel of that logo. We took months together, making sure that it was crystal perfect, making sure that the hairstyle was appropriate, making sure that the facial features were appropriate. I was like, the lips need to be bigger. These need to be some juicy Black girl lips.
Yes.
So it had to be perfect. Like it had to have the technology piece, had the nose and the hair. And some people don't recognize this, but for technology, for computers, for the systems that are in the actual machine, they're called motherboards, and they have these connecting pieces within the machine. So the connectors and the logo represent that keeping an awareness of emerging technologies and staying connected to your networks as well.
Well, I just learned something new. I was just going to tell you, it just looked so professional to me. I loved the design and the way that everything appears. That's why I wanted to talk about it. But that now I didn't even know that existed. So thank you so much for sharing that and informing me. Wow, I feel very enlightened after all of this, for sure. But, speaking of being enlightened, I've been looking at over the million things you've heard Shanae talk about that she does. A busy woman in the best way possible, very empowering, very inspirational. You are really, like you had mentioned with mentorship, obviously you're an adjunct professor and whatnot, and you've got Nerdy Diva happening now, but you've been in a few publications as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those? And I know on the website that you have, we can find them, but why don't you tell us a little bit about, having these publications and, what went into all of that?
Yeah, so being a creative, I love to write, love to read. I read constantly. I have about 4 or 5 books that I'm reading and just reading a little bits and pieces. Every so often, when I have a couple of minutes, I'll jump back into a book and read something. So it really has been a way for me, even as a little girl, to get inspired and to feel a sense of wanting to learn and know about different opportunities and different worlds and different perspectives and how people think, and learning especially around biographies and autobiographies. How do people get to where they are, whether that's professionally or in their home and family life? How do people create success? So that has been something that I have always thought as interesting and fascinating, because there's so many formulas, there's so many ways to define success, and then figure out how do you create your own path. So I definitely had it on my heart to share parts of my story and share that out to people, as a way for them to understand, there's many ways to get into being in a career as a designer or as a developer, as a technologist, or as a business owner. And here are some things that I've learned in my journey. So that has really been a big piece of it. And then the legacy. So the idea that you get to read written works from people who lived hundreds of years ago, and you get to understand their perspective, you get to understand their viewpoint on the world, and that's something that lives on for generations, and that's something that builds legacy, and that is something that's really important to me as well. So I wanted to make sure that that was being shown and it was being heard, especially as a Black woman in technology, that voice is being captured. And I definitely believe a lot in community and networking, and do that a lot here in St. Louis, and also in my my community in Boston, and have some great partners out on the East Coast. And there is a book for O'Reilly Publishing Company, and they do a lot of the technology and design publications. And back when I was a grad student, I was reading those books and devouring them, learning about how to be a designer, how to work with developers, what do all these different acronyms and technologies mean. And when the opportunity came to submit a proposal for the anthology, 97 Things Every UX Practitioner Should Know, I knew I had to submit something. I didn't know what I was going to write about. I knew I had to submit something. And I had known some of these folks from my time in networking, professional organizations like UXPAs, the UX Professionals Association. They have chapters across the US and Europe and internationally. I was a member and still connected to the Boston chapter. So I knew some of the folks who were putting together this book, submitted my proposal, and was just very excited to get the email back saying, yeah, you're in the book, and I want you to update everything. So the editing was a nightmare, but we got through it. It was very much you're in the book. I don't know what you're doing with this chapter, but try again, try this again, do it better. And I was like, okay, I'll take that. I'll take that constructive criticism. I'll take that. And I really took some time to outline what I want to say in the chapter. And I had a lot of people come to me and ask, how do I get started as a designer? How do I build a portfolio? And I thought that's what the chapter is going to be about. We're going to talk about how do you build a portfolio for designing, if that's what you want to do, if you want to be a researcher, if you want to be like a team lead. How do you create portfolios that help you get results and get you to your dream job? And that's really what my chapter is about. And I'm proud that it's in the O'Reilly family, and proud to have a copy of it and share it out with the world.
I am so impressed. Well, and I, as a communications major from SLU, I understand editing. And when I used to write research papers, I was like, it is a nightmare to edit and do all these. So yeah. I can only imagine that was just on my small scale, just taking one course for a credit, but having, listening to you and putting it in, like, it's just like your motto, Shanae, bring it on. You did it and you made it happen. And what an honor. Now I have to read it. I was like, maybe I'll expand my portfolio and get my dream job.
Oh, yeah.
Who knows? But what I love is that you keep mentioning, giving voices, giving a platform. And one of the things I'll also highlight on is that you're starting to do some YouTube videos as well, which is kind of a great connection, especially we experienced during our time during the pandemic. Having, right now we're virtual and whatnot, just because, of location and different things. But being able to be at home, and you're kind of looking to see, what mentorship can I get? What leadership can I get? And you're offering that now on YouTube. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that and where we can find it?
Yeah, so I am Nerdy Diva, so just Nerdy Diva on YouTube. That's the channel. And you can also find information on the website, nerdydiva.com. So I have been speaking at conferences for years now, just sharing information about being a designer and, career information as well. And some of those sessions started to get recorded. So I would take some of those recordings and upload them on YouTube. So there's definitely some talks there about steps to becoming a designer. I have talks on how to be a designer and also create your own consulting business. That's a talk that I gave a couple of years ago as well. And especially now that we have all these online tools, it's much easier now than it was when I was getting started. Oh God, almost, 13, 14 years ago as a student, as an undergrad. You had to physically go to people and say, hey, this is what I do, and pitch them in person. But now there's all these online tools. So there's a great opportunity to showcase your talent and showcase what you can do and get more exposure and more experience as well. Definitely have talks on building apps. So if people want to build an app and they want more information about like how would I build an app for my business, I have talks about that. How do you design apps? How do you partner with development and engineering to build those apps? So definitely sharing knowledge and careers. So how do people grow in their careers, and how do they find the opportunities that will help them get to the next level? So that is all there on the YouTube, and we'll continue to grow that information within the next year as well. Do want to create some courses and have some information that's available for people to get more in-depth information as well.
Absolutely. No, thank you for sharing that. And we'll make sure to, whenever we share this episode, to put your website up and all your social media and everything. If you've been watching on YouTube, we've been sharing her social media handle. Shanae, I think you bring up a great point, though, in saying that, everything that you've talked about today, but kind of highlighting, everything about making things easier for people and how it used to be. That's what you were talking about. Where you got to go to physically up to somebody and say, hey, like, here's what I do. And I remember doing that even when I was producing plays. I would have flyers in my car and like be like, hey, do you want to come to a play? And like pull it out of my trunk and whatnot. But I really, thinking about it now, I really have to thank people like you who are professionals in your field for making apps and making things easier for theatrical people like myself to promote things now. So that way I don't have to. You are very welcome. I love it. It's because that way I don't have to go to my trunk anymore. I just have to go like, here's this photo, here's this thing. And if it wasn't for people, especially strong women like yourself, who were like, listen, let's make this a hell of a lot easier and not have everybody struggle all the time. You don't think about that. Sometimes I think as people, and then we'll end this out, but I think that sometimes people, we just like upload a picture and we don't really think like, oh, wow, what about all the work that went into that easy step of uploading a photo, which I just have so much respect now, because obviously, you sound very professional and you do make it sound so easy, but it's only because you love it and you are a creative and you are blending all of these things together. So I obviously thank you again for all the apps and amazing things you've done, but also thank you for shining a light on that. Sometimes, again, we have such a negative view of technology. So thank you for enlightening me that there are some really amazing and beautiful things that can come out of it, which leads me to my last question here. You've hit on a lot of good points about getting into the field, but what advice would you give to yourself now, maybe that you didn't know back then, or just to another woman trying to pursue this field?
Yeah, I think sometimes women, we have a tendency to put our heads down and think that if I do good work, people will notice and that will be enough. And that's not always the case. So being able to not only do great work, but also being comfortable sharing and saying, I did great work, bringing visibility to yourself, making those connections, getting to know people, networking, building relationships, and not being afraid to give yourself credit. So taking credit for what you do, what your value is, and how you grow and build teams and systems and solutions, and just taking credit for that and owning that. I think that's a real big piece of, owning your power. And I would love to see more women doing that.
Oh, I love that. Casually owning your power. That's what this episode is going to be now. Yes, I appreciate it. Oh, what a great answer. Shanae, thank you so, so much. Again, you can find Shanae. We have her handle here at Nerdy Diva Shanae. Side note, this has totally nothing to do with technology, but for a long time on my I think one of my Facebook Messenger things was Diva18 or something. So I love that you use Diva. That is fantastic.
Definitely, because it's highlighting that it's okay to be feminine and be a woman and also be smart and technical as well. Definitely.
Yes. We're going to be best friends. Sorry, Dan. I'm literally we're going to hang. It's going to be great. We'll definitely have to have lunch at some point. I really appreciate this.
I love that. Yes.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for joining us from your home office. Just remember, we're going to put everything for Shanae Chapman, everything that you can find her on in our blurbs. Obviously, you can follow the Casually Molly podcast, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, at the Casually Molly podcast. I always say when we end an episode, what you're going to casually do now. So Shanae, what are you going to casually do now that our interview is over?
Oh, I'm going to think about what am I going to make for lunch. I love working from home and that I can actually take some time and cook some lunch. So I'm going to go to one of my cookbooks and see what's cooking for lunch today.
Ooh, what do you normally like? What's your favorite food? What do you normally like to make?
So for lunches, during the week, because I have meetings, I want to do something that's kind of quick but not taking too much time. I will do some tacos. I would do some tacos with some chicken and add some salsa and some hot sauce, and girl, it's a wrap. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to come over right now. Forget about my other job I have to go to. We're going to have tacos. It's going to be great. No, cheers to that. Cheers to tacos.
Yes.
Well, yes. Oh, we did. Hold on. There we go. Oh my God. Is that your design too, or is that just a mug?
This is not my design, but
it's a great design.
Some merch like this. So merch is coming. The Nerdy Diva merch is definitely coming. So
cheers to Nerdy Diva mood. Yes. I was like the Nerdy Diva mood. I'm like, what am I in? I'm like, I think it's like a vibe, a mood, a feel for me now.
It's a vibe, definitely.
Yes. Oh my God. Well, that's our casually in the future. We're going to get some merch, and who knows, maybe I just used a mug from the cabinet today, but maybe we'll enjoy some more magic from you, and I'll be able to showcase that more on the podcast for our next interview. We got to catch up with you and
definitely.
see.
I will send you some merch. Most definitely. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you everybody for tuning in, and casually get some tacos, everybody. Let's get inspired. Bring it on.
Thank you for having me.
Bye everyone.